is the Senior Vice President and Chief Brand and Communications Officer for Aflac. She's responsible for advertising, brand strategy, cause marketing, sponsorship, and social media. Catherine, is there anything else? Is there anything left? She also received the 2016 Silver Stevie Award for Maverick of the Year and the 2015 Bronze Stevie Award for Woman of the Year. Please welcome Catherine Hernandez-Blades. And she's brought a duck.
Thank you so much. Thanks all of you so much. It's great to see so many people here in the morning, and what a great setup, Steve, because what I'm going to talk about is a little bit different than what you're going to hear throughout the conference. Brand loyalty and differentiation, we all know the importance of that. We all know the importance of making a commitment and a connection, and if you're an insurance company, you sell a promise. That's a tough sell. So we need to do it in such a way that's relevant and meaningful and very, very high touch. But we also have a C-suite, and we need to make the business case to the C-suite on why it takes more than just doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You can actually map it back to the bottom line, and that's how we're going to actually wrap up today. So thank you for being here. That's me, and I want to talk to you about the business case for corporate social responsibility. I love this part of my job. This is my most favorite thing, and when they offered me the marketing department in last October, after we had had 5 CMOs in 10 years, I said I would take it, but not with that title. It seemed to be a bit jinxed. And I wanted full-blown corporate responsibility because we had started a project in January of 2016 based on the data, which we'll talk about, because always, rule number 1 is we like to let the data drive the strategy. So we use Reputation Institute data, and if you see the wheel there are 7 dimensions of reputation according to this model with 23 attributes behind them. They are weighted by industry. The only industry that is more disliked than insurance and financial services is the energy industry. The CEO of Georgia Southern is on our board, and I like to remind him of that every board meeting. He asks a lot of questions. Citizenship, governance, workplace. The attributes behind those 3 things are the ones most closely associated with corporate social responsibility. It's also almost half the model. So I know if I create a robust CSR program, I'm going to get the most lift on reputation. Now, why is that important? Because there is a correlation between propensity to recommend and propensity to buy. For every 3-point movement, which is statistically significant in your pulse score, people are more likely to recommend your product 6.5% of the time and more likely to buy to the tune of 5%. Again, compelling if you're a sales-driven organization. So we looked internally, what were our strongest attributes? What could we talk about with authenticity and credibility? We have a very diverse workforce. As a matter of fact, almost 70% of women who work or people who work for Aflac are women, and 44% are minorities. Philanthropy. Over the past 23 years, we've had a partnership with the Aflac Cancer Center, and over that time, we've donated more than $125 million to the research and treatment of pediatric cancer. We were also a company started by a cancer policy. The 3 brothers who founded the company watched their father pass away from cancer, saw the financial impact on their family, and decided that no other family should go through this again, which is why, as Steve noted, we created the category. Of course, sustainability and ethics and governance, 2 things we're very much known for. Now, if we look at the external environment to see how those things match up, we're in remarkable times. With Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Time's Up, it's really important because we're such a highly regulated industry that our duck have a right wing and a left wing. So we want to stay as non-controversial as possible while making a difference. And I don't know if you realize this, but of all the government funding that goes towards cancer in the United States, less than 4% is driven toward pediatric cancer research and treatment. And 4% is not enough when 16,000 children are diagnosed annually with cancer. UN sustainability goals, more and more critical. And then again, this distrust of financial services and insurance. I went and sat in our call center for a couple hours one afternoon because I just wanted to feel the pulse of what's going on. And people are sick, they're hurt, they're vulnerable, they just want help, which is why we're there. But they expect, candidly, that their insurance company is going to do everything they can do to deny and delay instead of find a way to pay. And that's kind of our internal rallying cry. I think we're the only insurance company that if you don't submit your documentation, if you're willing to sign a waiver that goes to your physician so that we can get your records, we'll actually pay for that. So, again, authenticity. We are also at parity in gender pay. Same work, equal pay for equal jobs. I came here from New York because I did 33 interviews last Friday on how we've managed to achieve this. And it's been by working very, very hard. I can promise you corporate America is not there yet. We do an annual corporate social responsibility every year, survey every year. This year we focused on Me Too, sexual harassment in the workplace. Couple remarkable things came out that were very useful to us as well, not just mediable. First, corporate America can really step up and do the right thing in terms of parity and gender pay. It's an easy fix. It's not that hard. And the second thing is 90% of human resources professionals believe that they do a great job of articulating their sexual harassment policies. And they believe their employees know and they're doing all the right things, while 55% of employees surveyed could not tell you whether or not they even had a sexual harassment policy in the workplace. So what do you do about that? We decided to focus on pediatric cancer because it was authentic to us, it was core to us. We created a national conversation. It took 18 months for me to convince my CEO to let me do this because he believed that doing the right thing simply because it was the right thing to do was enough. And he's right. But in today's business environment, if you want that connection, if you want that brand loyalty, if you want that authenticity, and you saw the numbers Steve showed, and that data backs up everything that we have, we decided to create a regional conversation, this 23-year commitment, and elevate it to a national conversation. We partnered with the Washington Post to do an event called Chasing Cancer, where we brought the brightest minds in research and treatment and celebrities, because it's America, we can't help ourselves, and politicians, because we did it in Washington. Had a phenomenal day. Power of Purpose, Atlantic Media has been phenomenal with us. We've done Children in Cancer 2 years in a row, and we even last year got pediatric cancer on the agenda for the Washington Ideas Forum for the very first time. So again, taking all the good work done regionally, lifting it into a national conversation, getting a lot of media attention around it. So what's next? All of you know the duck. Thank none of you for quacking at me as I walked in the room. I usually get that a lot. But today I want to introduce you to someone very special. Say hello. This is my special Aflac dog. What makes it so... He also has a mute. You upstage dog, I promise. In conjunction with 100 families, and commitment to put this of child with cancer in the United States free of charge. Lots of times, children can't express their feelings. So they go through a lot. They're sad, sometimes happy. When you can, but this will like walk. I duck. And he's on mute now, but it's important to note is the most painful part of going through cancer. So when we on our exercise so that the children can engage in medical play, take their power back, be a little bit distracted. He also and so special we have it plays because there's side complicated like do getting one on everybody is it's a new world for these not environment you engage and you really hospital obviously to work that element relevant experience. A quick
we take pain the can't.
I'm sorry, cancer. It was new. Again,
of treatment. So now we have the opportunity to bring into the
oh, that's awesome. What we try to do here is to give children the tools to understand what's going on and to empower them.
For our family and for Wyatt, the best use would be to help him communicate and a friend to comfort him when he's having treatment.
play is natural to a child. Play is really how they learn and how they process.
So we leveraged play and some of the latest technology to create healthcare tools for kids with illness. Everybody knows the Aflac duck. We wanted to bring the Aflac duck to life into a caring companion for children with cancer. It responds and moves in a lifelike and natural way. They could feed their ducks, bathe their ducks, and when you tap these different cards to the duck's chest, it behaves with that feeling to help children communicate their feelings. By the time the duck is shipping, we will have spent 18 months designing, testing, and iterating with hundreds of families, doctors, and experts.
Hi, Levi.
What do you think the duck is doing?
Singing.
Duck is singing.
Yes. Quack, 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 quack.
First and foremost, the duck is a constant companion for children throughout their treatment journey.
He's kind of cute.
He's kind of cute. Candy's going to do some breathing, and we're going to kind of match her breathing.
Just a tiny bit faster.
Perhaps most important of all, the ducks can share in the patient's experience.
Okay, actually,
Good job.
Eli, look at this. Packy is also getting one.
Can I try?
Yeah.
What?
I think it's so awesome. You just feel comfort, with something like that.
I really like the Aflac duck to be your friend, to help you get through all your tough times here.
I think the duck has the potential to have a huge impact on our patients, our families, and our healthcare program as a whole.
So technically y'all want to make it happen to give everybody one or something?
That's the goal.
If she has something to sit with her, something that can take her through it, a friend that will always be there, and that would help a lot of kids.
So we did the most counterintuitive thing a marketer could possibly do. We launched this little guy at the largest consumer electronics show in the world. The one product you couldn't buy, and there we were in between drones and talking washing machines and all kind of crazy things. And we won Tech for a Better World, Best of Show, and the Showstopper Award voted on by the media. We actually did over 400 interviews in 4 days. Thank you. But it all has to work together. The voice of the duck has to evolve through linear television, digital, all of that. We know that. We have the data to prove that. And people are wanting more. So again, tying your brand to something that already has such a commitment and brand following. We partnered with the Country Music Association, and we created the Aflac ACM Lifting Lives Award. And we gave out the first one. Actually, Chris Young did. He's a very famous country person who was nominated for Artist of the Year. And we did a live commercial there with a live duck and children so that we could present this award to a music therapist. And it was just fantastic. And mark your calendars, September 14th. We're going to be on Good Morning America as part of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, talking about our duck. We were actually filming with Chris Young and another gentleman by the name of Chase Bryant at Vanderbilt Children's in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really, really special piece. And then, of course, influencer engagement. There's so many people in the pediatric cancer community, in the healthcare community, and again, we were founded on a cancer product, right? So it makes sense. Oh, I am still the only Marcom person to ever be on Squawk Box, as all my peers like to remind me. And I did a 7-minute piece with Andrew there. It was, and it was all about corporate social responsibility. And then, of course, there's risk mitigation. Whenever you go into an endeavor like this, my crisis plan is 600 pages long for this little guy, because no matter how hard you try and mitigate, and no matter how much you think people should be for helping children with cancer, you never know where the next hit might come from. So what's next? We're actually doing delivery events at 6 hospitals this fall. So think of it as an Oprah reveal. You get a car, you get a car. So we're going into hospitals and you get a duck. And then we have a treasure hunt for the children. Again, just helping them have a few more precious moments. But the night before, we've created, you guys all know the bat signal. I don't know, y'all look really young. You remember the Batman and the bat signal? The big light that lit up the sky, and that's how the Batman knew where to appear. You're hearing it here first. We actually have a duck signal that we've created. And the night before, our duck signal will go into the sky and also be beamed against a landmark in whatever city that is. And we're working with the meteorologists in the local markets where we're delivering ducks to make sure that the duck signal gets all the attention it deserves. Oops, you said green button, Steve. I went to the wrong button. So we're going to reveal in 6 key markets. We do a lot of events during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. As a matter of fact, on September 10th, we will be ringing the bell, the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange with children from the Aflac Cancer Center. So it should be a very special day. And then CSR in a Box, which we have 75,000 independent sales agents, a third of whom are licensed to not only sell our product, but our competitors' products. So we want them to like us best, and we want them to go out and do good in the community as well. So we created what we call CSR in a Box, which is a roadmap for them to go into underserved communities, do good work, and build their brand simultaneously. It does a number of wonderful things, including keeping them on message, which is always great. When they are 1099s, not W-2 employees, it's an opportunity to make a difference clearly, and it, again, helps them build their brands, which will ultimately help them build their business, because when you do this, you see wonderful things happen, as you'll see on the measurement charts. UN sustainability goals, we actually have a great green track record, something else we didn't talk about. And this year, we're one of the sponsors of UN Week, their sustainability events for UN Week. Support to advocacy. This is not me showing you all of my different haircuts. This is just showing the, it's a moving target. All kind of amazing different things we've done. So the duck rules, again, we're pivoting the brand voice of the duck so that this all marries together in a very holistic, comprehensive way. I talked about the CSR surveys earlier, but we also have an executive engagement piece of this. My colleague Matthew Owenby talks about workplace. I talk about corporate social responsibility clearly. Our president of Aflac US, Teresa White, talks about giving back. She is a highly regarded mentor and has created a number of programs for at-risk youth and, of course, diversity. Our General Counsel, Audrey Boone-Thielman, talks about corporate ethics, which is clearly a part of this in diversity. Fred Crawford talks about governance and financial performance, and Dan Amos, our CEO, gets to talk about whatever he wants. He's the CEO. I want to take you through some charts. Again, getting people to rally around corporate social responsibility and understanding that there is a place for it in business takes data to prove it. So these are our Reputation Institute metrics since we started this in Q1 of 2016. You'll see an anomaly in Q1 of this year. Our whole sector was down. And we were still #1 in our sector, but everybody was down. Now, my SEC counsel is going to make me make this disclaimer to all of you, especially since we're live streaming. I cannot prove correlation. I would argue I could prove some causation, but just look directionally at when you overlay data over data. So reputation score, remember that propensity to buy, it goes up 5%, that propensity to recommend goes up 3%. So does employee engagement. We field an employee engagement study every 2 years, which is why there's only couple of data points on that. But you see it rising. This is something employees can rally around and do and volunteer at the Cancer Center, and they love it. Here we go with media sentiment. You know, directional information only, but it's going up. The more we talk about this stuff online, Media sentiment, there's one anomaly you'll see there. I won't bore you with the details, but it was a crazy bot thing, which is something I hope we can solve here too. Sales, again, when do you guys do open enrollment at your businesses, right? Q4. So obviously, Q4 is a spike, Q1 is a bit of a dip. If you remove the anomalies, you'll see, again, this directional, we're heading in the right direction on sales. Stock price. We're heading in the right direction, too. If this does not get your board's attention and does not get the attention of your CFO, I don't know what else to give you in terms of data. But sometimes when you really, really do it right, and after this I'll open it up to questions, but you can go beyond just your internal stakeholders. You can really create a community externally. Let's take a look.
On Saturday night, 11 p.m., we lost power. My husband came upstairs. The baby was asleep with me, and he said, "You need to get up because water's coming in the house." By 9 a.m., the water was up over our knees, and we had no power. At that point, I had very little battery left on my phone, and so I thought social media would be a good outlet to send a quick message to a large amount of people. And within minutes, I had hundreds of texts and responses from my Aflac family. I got a message from Victoria Bean. She's a fellow agent, and she said that she and one of our policyholders, Mr. Billy Cable, were going to come and get us.
We were coming back, myself and my son, after we had dropped everybody off. Vicki called us, asked us if we were still out, and I told her we were. Once I found out there was a 10-month-old baby in the house, there's no more thinking. It's just doing. It's what needs to be done. How can we get to them? These streets were just absolutely flooded.
We came downstairs, the water was really high at that point, and in walks this huge, tall man, and he asked me if I had a bucket or a basket or anything that we could use to float Sophia out. And ironically, I had this big plastic bucket that was filled with Aflac ducks, and so I dumped it out, and it was a perfect size.
The water level was up to that electrical outlet there, which would have put it 10, 11 inches up on the wall inside the house, so you can imagine what it was outside.
We proceeded to go out of the house, and we sunk into chest-high water, and we put little baby Sophia in the bucket, and we put her on top of a raft, and we swam probably over half a mile to get to the vehicle, and we piled up and were driven to safety. When I go back and look at all the different responses that I received, the ones who said, "What can we do? How can we come get you?" overwhelmingly was Aflac. I mean, Teresa White, the president of U.S. Aflac operations, called my cell phone and said, "What can I do? What can we do right now?" They teach us every day to deliver more than a promise, to be there for that family member, to go above and beyond, and doing the types of things that hopefully that anyone would do for you in your time of need.
I know for a fact that Aflac does deliver on what they say, and they make everything very personal. They're good people that stand up to what they say, so I should be that same person back to them.
Authenticity. No matter how many times I watch that video, but we are actually bringing all of them to our corporate headquarters when we unveil our CSR report on September 7th. So all of our employees will be able to hear those lovely words and meet baby Sophia, who is thriving. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned how to measure something you may have thought may not have been measurable a little different. And I know it's not intense technology, but it is creating community. So thank you, and I think there's time for a couple questions.
Yes, we do. Catherine, thank you very much. I didn't know you were going to choke us all up in the keynote. That doesn't happen too much, but thank you very much. We have time for questions, and throughout the summit, by the way, when you have a question, please stand and tell us who you are so we get to know you and who you're with. So if you have any questions for Catherine? I have, one of the first things that come to mind is you were talking about the PR plan. I'm curious if you're changing the mix of focus here. There's a lot of public relations, of non-media, non-traditional media here. So what does TV has been so central to Aflac for so long as a part of the mix and part of the brand building. How does that change in this sort of campaign?
Well, you're going to see a kinder, gentler duck, first of all. Not quite as abrasive. And while he is very relatable, and that's usually the question I get, he is a he. While he's very relatable, it is time to get this a little more focused. And what do I mean by that? 5 CMOs in 10 years. We've done so much to this staff, and they all think they're doing the right things, and then they get a complete change in direction. It's just not fair to anybody. So we have been doing a lot of research, I mean a lot, to crack the code on the secret sauce, looking at all demographics, from the silent generation all the way through to Gen Z. One thing I can tell you is this messaging resonates with all of them. People want to do business with companies that do good. As a matter of fact, our first CSR survey was just a general omnibus survey, and it was very, very enlightening. And then the next 2 we did focused on the investment community. And literally 6 out of 10 investors the first year said that they would not buy stock, and this is both private and institutional investors, in a company that did not have a robust corporate social responsibility program. We refielded the same survey a year later, and it had gone up to 80%. 8 in 10 would not invest in your company if they didn't think you were doing good in the communities you served. So we see, and we've got the data behind it, that it is more important than ever that you be authentic, do something in alignment with your brand voice and your brand promise. And now what we're focusing on is we know what all that is on the PR side because we've been doing it since January of 2016. What we need to do is align the advertising and the digital content and all of that to marry up to it. Because hopefully you learned something today that you didn't know about Aflac. I see some heads nodding. That's great.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Andrew?
Hi, Andrew Eklund from Cicerone, and we're a digital agency and we do a ton of work in the children's health space. So every day, arriving at our inbox are another video where we all just start bawling in the office. So it's not very productive because we lose like 2 hours a day. But these stories are generated oftentimes by parents and family members. Yes. And to build off of Steve's question a little bit is, how are you measuring or leveraging those stories? Do those stories become part of your content strategy? Are you mining for them and then reaching out to families, or is there a line of demarcation that you've decided to take?
There's very much a line, because we never want to look like we're exploiting anyone during the most difficult times of their lives. Right? So we get hundreds of thank you letters to Aflac a year. As a matter of fact, they're in a giant database. It's really good for our federal relations team because we can call them by state. After we have interviewed them, they have proactively reached out to us, and they agree. And then we get the rights to use their statements for 1 year. And we can break them down by congressional district, by state, and walk the hill with that data. So again, all of this has so many applications that are so relevant, because when you're a highly regulated business, you need to make sure you don't get regulated out of business. We don't proactively seek out anything. We don't mine for it. We just use the community that has chosen to come forward to us and say, hey, I appreciate you. I want to do something with you. And it's much more powerful that way. I know some people think it's more organic if you just mine for it, but this is such a difficult line to walk because, again, you never want to even appear that you're exploiting a family. It's a great question. and something we've talked about internally quite a bit.
Catherine, thank you for starting us off on such a great note with a brand that's really trying to do a meaningful rebrand. Thank you very much, Catherine. And Catherine will be with us the rest of the morning.